Hello everyone, back at it again, and today I thought we would look at different ways to use fluorocarbon to improve various hooks. And these techniques will make any hook you use better. And all you need is something around 20-pound fluorocarbon. It could be new fluorocarbon, it could be old fluorocarbon. Could be mono even, whatever you have on hand, but fluorocarbon's a little stiffer. I think it stands up a little bit better. Alright, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little loop keeper onto this 2-watt Mustad TitanX Wacky / Neko hook, or Neko hook. So you get a hook out of the package, you put it in the vise. Now not everybody has a fly tying vise, but I do, so I'm going to use it. But if you didn't have one, let's see, you can use an X-Acto knife like you get at a craft store and take out the blade carefully and then put the hook in it, and then you can put the X-Acto knife handle into a vise. And if you didn't have that, you could probably get away with maybe a pair of vice grip pliers and a C-clamp. There's a lot of ways to do it, but having a nice vise that you can rotate does help a little bit. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer of this this clear mono fly tying thread. I had the best luck with this 0.1 millimeter Vise mono thread. You can also use 0.2, but it ends up being a little bit thick. So nothing fancy, just trying to wrap it on the hook. Doesn't have to be anything special. Then I'm going to use a little bit of super glue. Oh, please hold. A little bit of super glue to really seat that line onto the hook. I mean, I guess it is thread. It's mono thread, but... Alright, got a little bit of super glue going there. Next, what I'm going to do is take a little section of this 20-pound fluoro. Doesn't have to be very long. Maybe an inch, 2 inches. Doesn't really matter too much. And for this, I want the loop. How do I want the loop? I want the loop on the back of it, I think. So I'm just pinching it down a little bit. Trying to get it to come to a little bit of a point. And then I lay it down on the hook, start wrapping. And as I wrap, I'm going to straighten it out a little bit. Try to get it to bend the way I want it. I don't want to come up too high on the hook. I want a little bit of a gap there between the hook eye, and that's so I can prop that little loop up. Try not to get super glue all over myself in the process. I'm going to do a few wraps under to help keep that loop up. And I got just a little bit more loop than I want. I'm going to pull it back just a little bit. Yeah, something like that. And then I'm going to go up a little bit more. Yeah. That looks good. I'm going to cut off this floor. Alright, I'm back. Broke off that thin mono thread. That's alright, I'll just wrap up some more. And then I get my handy whip finishing tool. The way you use this is you make kind of the number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you do it again. You make the number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's it. You can be a little bit neater than I was. But that's the idea. And I really like to cover it with super glue, and that just seems like it lasts a lot longer. And that, with the super glue in the bottom and the super glue on top, that will last through many fish before eventually the hook gets worn out or the little keeper starts to fail. Got a little bit too much there. And that's it. Now this I use with the big TRD, the Z-Man big TRD, and I make a weedless, it's called the Tiny Child Rig by Wired to Fish. I think that's where I first saw it. Or the reverse rig. Basically, you have a nail weight in the bottom of the big TRD, and you have a weedless Neko hook rigged near the top. And this little keeper makes all of that so much better, because without it, what happens is the plastic slides down that smooth shank of the hook, and it balls up down here, and you don't get good hook sets. But with the head of the bait locked into place by that keeper and the hook point coming through the bait here, you get so much better hookups. I mean, pretty much you'll stick almost all the fish, and it's such a big improvement just with that little keeper there. And it didn't take me very long, just a couple minutes. I'm going to put that to dry, and I'll do another one. This is a Gamakatsu hook. It's a B10S Stinger. This is pretty much a Neko hook before they were called Neko hooks. And I'm going to make a drop shot hook out of this. This is something similar. Oops, I just dropped it. I'll get that in a second. But put a little keeper on that hook. This is a Reactions Innovations Shiver Shot. It's a good drop shot bait. It looks to me a little bit like a bluegill. But with the little keeper inside the bait, it'll last much, much longer than if it was a smooth hook. The bait lasts longer, you get better hookups. There's really no downsides, and I'll show you how I do that one right after I pick up that hook I dropped. Crank it down a little bit, and then you start out the same way. Wrap a little bit of mono, that 0.1 millimeter thread up the hook. Just get it on there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Trim any excess. And I like to put a little super glue at this stage just to lock everything down. Make sure it's never going to slide. It's never gonna budge. And I got a little bit extra there. It's alright. I'll dab with a paper towel and I'm good. Oh, dropping things left and right. Alright. Same thing, you need about an inch or two of 20-pound fluorocarbon. Again, it doesn't have to be exact, it's just what I have. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pinch it, try to get a point, try to get it roughly the way I want it, and then start wrapping. And it's going to look something like that. Yeah, that's about what I want. And at this stage, you can still pull on these a little bit and move it. But that's about what I want right there. Let's see the final product. It's not going to be too long. Alright. Well, I dropped my whip finishing tool. It's going to be the same thing. Make the number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then trim it. And at this stage, what I like to do is get the tip of my scissors in there and cut that loop. And what you're left with, I don't know how well you can see it on the video, but there's 2 little prongs there. You can maybe hear it. And that's what's going to keep the soft plastic on your drop shot hook. Now I could fish, this is a number 6 hook I think. If you're around bigger fish, you could fish a number 4 hook. There's a more gap with the number 4, it's a little stronger hook, it won't bend out as easily. And I could easily fish a number 4 hook with that bait. And maybe I will next year. Now, same thing, I'm going to finish it off. A little bit of super glue. There we are. Finished product. Alright, I'm going to take that one out, put that up to dry. I think I'll do some of these jig heads. I've already done a couple. Earlier I try to do a couple at a time so I always have some ready. These are the Arsenal Deadly Nedley tungsten jig heads, and they're weedless. This is a 1/10 ounce size. They have a little check box in the corner there. Tells you what size it is and how big of a hook it is. So this is 1/10 of an ounce with a 3/0 hook, and this is the size I like for the hula sticks. 2/0 is good with the Savage Salamander. Now with this one, I like a little bit of a loop right there on the bend of that EWG hook. So that's what we're going to do, but it's the same general process. Put down a little bit of a thread base just to get you going. Something to grip onto, I guess. Trim the excess. And take about 1.5 inches. 20-pound fluoro. Fold it over. put a little bit of super glue there. And dab away the excess. I'm going to try to pinch it. Pinch the fluorocarbon into a point. Doesn't have to be exact. And then I'm going to size it up kind of the way I want it. Get a few loose wraps. Yeah, that's about right. Go a few under. And then wrap it down tight. I'm going to trim off my fluorocarbon tags. And I'm going to cover up my my tail cut there with a little bit more thread wraps. Try to build that up a little bit. And then same thing, I'm going to whip finish with the whip finishing tool. It's about 4. I'll do it again. 1, 2, 3. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, I'm locked up on myself, but that's all right. We'll get it. We'll get it free. And then pull it tight. The super glue can make up for a lot. Doesn't have to be perfect, as you just saw. Get a super glue bead on it, and we'll be good. Dab away some of the excess. And I'm going to pull that keeper up just a little bit. So when it dries like that. And that is going to keep my hula sticks up on this part of the hook. So the head of the hula sticks is going to be up here and not balled up on the hook when I set the hook, which means almost all my hook sets will be good hook sets because I won't have that bait sliding down after a bunch of fish. It also seems to get pretty slippery if you put scent on it. So this keeper just keeps everything in place, allows you to get good hook sets. And that's it. Another one to set up to dry. Alright, let's do a few more. Alright, this is the kind of I don't know what you call it, like a safety harness to keep the treble hook on the back of this 4/0 owner Twistlock that goes into the skinny dipper for fishing it weightless. So it ends up something like that in the water. So I'll show you how to do that too, since we're on a roll here. This one's all set up, but let's say I wasn't happy with it, or it got worn out, or a pick roll scuffed it up, and I needed to do another one. It's no problem. Take some more of that 20-pound fluorocarbon that I've been using so much of. For this application, I would use new line, not old line. So you can do a simple clinch, or you can do a double wrapped simple clinch. Either one is fine. So go through it twice. I'm just going to do one because I don't have a lot of line here. And then it's 6 or 7 turns around. Doesn't have to be anything too precise, but something around that number. And this isn't a great knot, but it is a lot easier to get the distance right with a simple clinch versus something like a Palomar or something like that. And it doesn't use up a lot of line. So I'm going to wet it, pull it tight. And that, just want to make sure it's seated properly. And that's not a great knot, but with super glue it's going to become a great knot. Trim that up. So you can see it's tied directly to that hook eye. And I'm going to pull it back when I'm going to rig it. But for now we'll keep it straight, more or less. Next step is we add the treble. This used to be a red treble, but the fish really beat the heck out of it, and now there's not much paint left on my red treble. But it did used to be a red treble. I think this is the side that goes up into the bait, so it has more of the red paint on it. This side is the side that was down, and the fish pretty much wore the paint right off of it. This would probably be a good time to sharpen the hook too, but we'll just keep going with this video. Alright, now I usually have to do this part twice because I always go too long, so I'm going to try to shorten this up just as much as I can and still be able to tie. We've got a couple wraps going. Now I'm going to spin it for the last couple, just because it's hard to find the room once you get to this stage. And then I'm going to start to snug it up. I'll wet it and pull it tight. And I might have done a little bit too much. Oh, you know what? That's probably going to be okay. It's a little bit long. I could do that one again and try to get that gap to be even narrower. But I want just enough line to get over that hook point. And I guess there's a little excess there. But you get the idea. I could do that again just to shorten it up a little bit more. But if you go too short, then there's not enough line to get over that hook point. But that's how it sits. And this little length of fluorocarbon makes sure that even if this treble comes out when the fish are flapping around and so forth, you don't lose the treble and you don't lose the fish. Everything stays together with that little extra piece of fluoro, instead of just having the treble hanging there, you know, out in space. So if anything came apart, that fish is gone and so is the hook. I don't like leaving hooks and fish if I can help it. Alright, so that was the skinny dipper. Let's do one more. I've got a 7-inch Bass Mafia Dangerous swim bait. And on the back of that, sometimes I'll rig it with a stinger hook. And it's the same general idea as with the skinny dipper. Let's see if I can hold this up a little bit better. And that treble hook goes right there in the back belly fin. No, the back fin, I guess. Dorsal fin, maybe. Whatever this fin is called, there's a little bit of a space there, and you can stick the one tine of the treble hook there, kind of mush it in. You can see how it's bent out a little bit. That was from a fish, not from me. But with this treble hook here, the stinger treble hook, I actually caught a big crappie on this bait. Whereas before, you know, there's no way a crappie, even a big crappie, is going to get its whole entire mouth around a 7-inch bait. It just, you're not going to catch a big crappie on a bait rig like this. You know, I'm obviously not targeting big crappie while I'm fishing this. I'm targeting big bass. But it's the same idea. They might not get all of it. And if you're in kind of sparse weeds where you can get away with a stinger hook on the back and it doesn't seem to affect the action too much, yeah, it caught me a couple fish that otherwise I would have lost this year, including that big crappie. So I'm not going to tie that one up, but it's the same procedure as with the skinny dipper. But instead of having the leader come out the bottom of the hook eye, it's coming out the top because you're going to hook it onto the back of the bait. So basically it's the same, it's just instead of coming off towards the belly, it's coming off towards the back. And I add a little bit of super glue to both those knots because they're not the greatest knots, but they're easiest to work with. And you're done. So that's it. There's I think 4 different variations of using super glue and fluorocarbon to add some keepers to hooks, stingers to swim bait hooks. And if you use these tips, it'll really help you both keep the bait more fishable longer and improve your hookup ratio and catch more fish. Alright, hope that helps. Thank you for watching. I'll list all the materials in the video description. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya!